for me, it's so interesting watching it second time because in her dream, like Adam, who steals her girl in real life, becomes a totally pathetic person whose life is not in his control like he wanted it to
Yeah,
be. And he
it's
was
so
cheated
funny.
on, he was chased out of his house, he couldn't afford anything, and he had to say yes to what he didn't want to agree with. So watching
On
it
the
the
like the
second
bed, the bed scene, the adultery scene where he walks into the bedroom, I was like, oh my God, that's Hannah Montana's dad.
time.
Why is he here? Oh, that was a funny moment. But I also read from another analysis that what Adam's character, like the director, he might actually be a projection of reality Diane's childish kind of or the more realistic side of her, where she channels her anger through childish actions and suffers through a lot of failure in her life. I do see it, and I agree with that. So I thought I'd
Like
bring this up.
having a compromise because she understands industry rules are not because she's not a nepotism
Huh.
baby in real life. So she's forced to, just be like, you'll see me once if you did a good job. Like, the cowboy showed up once
Hmm.
or like twice, I guess.
I still don't understand the cowboy figure though.
Eventually he showed up twice. Like that part is also, is it kind of like a clown figure? Like,
I don't
no,
know. I
like
read
not in real
a
life.
jester, like a jester kind of figure, you mean?
Like as a kid, it's someone who's both terrifying and a bit comedic, like as a kid. I don't know.
Maybe a I was thinking more along the lines of a prophet.
No, it's more like also even like it's similar to an authority figure in a way because if the parents,
Yeah.
the parents to you are like, if you did a good job, you'll see me. They wouldn't say you'll see me once, but like if you did a bad job, you'll see me twice. Like the implications, like if you did a good job, you'll get whatever. And if you see me twice, if you did a bad job, then you don't want to find out what happens. It's kind of like a bit toxic parenting tactic
That's interesting.
because after the fact, he did fold. Like Adam folded.
He did because I think initially he thought like all was over though, right? Because and then this cowboy gave him a second chance. He's like just admit to your mistakes and you know
Say that's the
accept
girl.
that
Mhm.
that's role and then you can get your stuff back. But you have to use this person as your leading actress.
Isn't that kind of like maybe it just speaks to my childhood in that I was familiar with this kind of parenting style. Like you do this
Oh.
thing, you get this thing. You don't do it, you don't get it. Like, yeah, sorry. It's my
That's
trauma.
no, that makes sense too if you look at it that way. I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
I still feel like it doesn't exactly go ding ding ding, that's the right answer for me. But I accept
Sure.
that as one of the analysis like understandings were. But
Hmm.
another thing that I want to bring up along the lines of Adam maybe being a projection of Diane is that Diane has to go through these Hollywood rules as a woman.
Hmm.
So in her dreams, when she projects these failures, she projects it onto a man.
Hmm.
And there's a power dynamic switch too, and like from one from female to male. Another projection difference is it's from being an actress, so the one getting selected, to the director who selects, who's
Hmm.
supposed to be selecting.
Hmm.
That's interesting to me. It just clicked in my head all of a sudden, but
Yeah, no, it's definitely I wouldn't say queer reading, but in a way it is. Like or in a way because she is queer in her head, she's trying
Hmm.
to reconstruct. She's trying to deconstruct and reconstruct power hierarchy in terms of
Yeah.
getting the say, in terms of um
Especially with her interactions with Rita, um with Camilla, because I was confused in the middle of the movie. Another thing I was super confused about, I was like, Camilla, I thought you wanted to solve your mystery. Like, this is your problem. Why is Betty doing all of this shit for you? Like, why is she knocking on all of the doors and why is she like making everything happen and you're just and making sandwiches for herself and you're just lying there in her bathrobe thinking about nothing. I was very confused and kind of angry on that part. I was like, why are you doing nothing? And Betty was,
so
why are you doing so
interesting.
much?
Like it's so interesting that in her fantasy, like Rita or like in actuality, Camilla is completely at her disposal. You know, Camilla's completely at like Betty's disposal, in that she's even she's so useless. She has zero agency. She's just
Yeah.
up to be carried around, except for when she's like Silencio, and then carried her to the theater, and then we can talk about that scene later, but she had
Hmm.
zero agency except for that scene. Yeah. And that scene is more like cue for her to wake up, because like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, but we can talk about that scene later. But like, is that how you want to envision your better half or other half? Like, because I feel like for me,
Hmm.
for me, if I were to dream of like a dream situation for me and my ideal type, it wouldn't be like I'm the person, the go-getter, like, and the other person completely at my disposal. I feel like that's not the situation I want myself to be a part of. I don't want myself to be a control freak and the other person to have zero say in the relationship. And for me to say I love you during love making and the other person just not saying anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, like even her,
But
like in her dreams, some parts are just too good to be true for her to conjure up, for Camilla to say,
yeah, that's a projection of her, insecurity that she
"Mhm,
has, all the doubt and the insecurity. So
mhm."
I guess I don't know, it makes sense to me that Camilla is the way she is, as Rita in her dream because
It almost looks
she,
like a male fantasy. Like that would make sense.
yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
exaggerated. It's ex super exaggerated. And another thing is the clothing. Like throughout, most of the times you see Betty in jeans and a t-shirt. But most of the scenes for Camilla, she's always in a robe or a dress of some sort or naked.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. But I think because she feels cheated, well, she is cheated by Camilla and her emotions were dismissed. All her love for her was dismissed, and she was just like thrown aside. She desperately wants to show that she can be of use, of agency to Rita, and she desperately wants Rita to rely on her and depend on her
Mhm.
in an almost exaggerated way.
Like she provides for all that she needs, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like a more controlling, or you could even say manipulative mindset. Like, I direct where you go. I kind of control the whole pace of our relationship.
No way,
And
she's the director, right?
yes,
The
yeah,
director
she's the director now. Exactly.
flipped the dynamic once again. No, I definitely get that aspect. I'm just saying again, like because I'm not her, like for me, if I were to fantasize situations, it's not gonna be like this. But also, I've not been heartbroken by someone whom I really love, so it wouldn't be the same type of fantasy if I was heartbroken by this person, and then maybe then I would be like, okay, you're tied in a chair on a chair, and then I control everything. Like maybe then I could be more ruthless in my fantasies or
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing. But
But that's the difference, right? Like fantasies are different from dreams. Dreams
mm.
are very uncontrollable, and that's why they're weird.
And that's why there's no I love yous exchanged because she
Yeah. Because
down
if it was actually a fantasy, she would be saying I like Camilla would be saying I love you.
for sure. Like
Yeah.
in the dream, yeah, Camilla initiated the kiss, but it's more like on the forehead. It's not like anything sexual or like suggestive. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. And one part I wanted to revisit actually with you was something I thought was
Hmm.
so interesting. It was again the rehearsal scene, but the first time Betty rehearsed the scene with Rita. And then they they did it in a completely different way. Which is more jokey, and Camilla's line delivery was so awkward, but not Camilla, sorry. Rita's line delivery was so awkward.
Hmm.
Not an actress in the dream. Um, but I just felt it was so interesting because if we were to go back to the psychoanalysis theories where, Betty or Diane was sexually assaulted as a child, then a common way for people to process trauma is to do it a jokey way. It's through jokes and
Oh.
you know what I mean? It's through play acting. It's through even like reversing the gender of the assaulter so that it's less
Hmm.
aggressive, so that it's not something dangerous, in her first playthrough. And I just thought it was so interesting. And in that scene too, like, because in real life she is hurt by Camilla. So in that
Hmm.
it's kind of like projecting on Rita in the rehearsal that Rita is this person who's violated her in another way. So it's not
Yeah.
projecting, it's some other term. I don't know, like
But I get what you're saying, and that's genius. Yeah.
substituting the role of the assaulter like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's a genius interpretation.
Because for me, like my trauma, I know I was actually, this is TMI. I was criticized by my therapist because to her, everything I said is not emotional enough. And she couldn't feel in touch with me. She felt like I was not in touch with the therapy sessions because of the way I was delivering everything I was saying. But to me, it's just come natural to me to deliver my trauma in a less than serious way because that's how I was with you even, like when we were talking about like shit that was happening to me, I was never like crying or doing anything. It's me trying to find some humor or trying to make it less, severe for the conversation because I don't want to burden people with the shit I've been going through. So, like to me, if you're saying that a lot of things were trauma responses in her dream, I understand it completely. Um, because that's how a lot of people like myself deal with trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, like you suppressed it. There's bits of, well, some people deny it, but a lot of it is suppression, but sometimes it seeps out through the cracks.
hmm
And
But I
yeah.
wouldn't, that's why, like, even in her dream, she seemed like, I wouldn't, a bit hard to know, like, as like the Cinderella, the Snow White kind of persona, if we can interpret that as someone who's actually traumatized, because some people, if they were hurt and stuff, they like put on a persona as someone hard to know, as someone perfect, and that if you get to the truth, like if we can interpret her rehearsal with Bob as the truth, then you get this like shivering person who's actually hurt, able to hurt back, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I had a different interpretation initially, but I completely agree with you on this version. But my original take on this was that I also noticed that Rita was delivering her lines in a very non-actress way. Like you wouldn't expect a well-known actress to deliver her lines like that. So to me, that was also a projection of Diane's jealousy. Because in this version of her world, she's the good actress and Diane's the one that isn't an actress, I guess. It doesn't really say,
But
but
actually, she was, before her car crash, because she's taken out.
yeah. Yeah, but we never know, right? We never know. Maybe like it was her fantasy of Camilla would be saved and spared somehow. Like she hired their hitman, but
No, no, I know,
she's
no, no. I understand what you're saying. I was saying that in the dream, the setting was that Rita is also an actress. She was taken out by the movie people. So
Oh.
but replace her in the movie.
Oh, oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
actually in the
Oh, I forgot about that detail. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Too
and
many interesting things.
like straight up, yeah. Oh, can we talk about the this is the tape sequence?
Oh yeah, I don't, I didn't really understand that part. Silencio.
I know people go the meta route with like analyzing this film too, like in terms of this film being like a metaphor for filmmaking or like for the industry for sure, because that's not even a metaphor. It's pretty straightforward if you were talking about the industry. Like people don't get what they want. Nepotism babies win, and
Mm.
people are taken out or replaced without the says of the creative people that should have says in things. I was reading like a behind the scenes tidbit on the singing, and
Mhm.
they were saying that the singer sang to David Lynch, director, one time they met, and then
Mm-hmm.
he recorded her doing it when they first met. And then for the final version of the movie, he actually used the time that she was singing to him, like not for an audition, but just for fun.
Oh.
Like more of like a behind the scenes
Hmm.
spoof, I guess.
But I don't know. What's your general take? Like, what's your general interpretation of um the near end scene where the singer is singing and they're crying and Betty is scared of thunder and flashing lights. I thought she was having a seizure.
To me, TMI again, like I was reminded of one of my friends telling me about one time she was having sex with her now ex and she was crying because she felt like this might end, like the relationship.
Um,
And during the sex, she was crying because even when they were still together, she felt like an ominous kind of feeling, like a looming feeling that they might not be end game. And in this film, when they were crying, I felt emotional because I feel like it's because she knows it's gonna end, like even in her dream. Yeah. So I
and
think
Betty
that's
just
more,
leave the scene, like in the end too, when they return to Aunt Ruth's house.
she
She
doesn't want
just
to have the
vanished.
agency of returning to reality. So yeah, I don't know. I felt emotional. I think I understand this film from an emotional lens, but not from a psychoanalysis lens because I'm not qualified to, but for like from an emotional lens, from someone who is yearning, is pining, and doesn't get what she wants. Like all of the tweaks in her dream, I think make sense. And a lot of the crying, the emotional outbursts and all that, I think makes sense from an emotional standpoint. Which is why
Yeah.
I was like this time watching, I understand completely, but I'm more like just through my own lens, right? Not from like, what the hell is this blue box? Like that, like those kinds of symbolisms. And like, the puppet masters being in David Lynch, very famous, like, red velvet draped, like liminal space, like that kind of thing. Those imageries are forever a mystery to me. Like I don't understand why he chooses to use these things. Um,
It does feel dreamlike, especially there's this the scene where they go into Club Silencio. That scene was like, this is it feels like a good desktop wallpaper. Was my first reaction.
Agreed. A lot of the white shots, like with just like a person being very tiny and like California being so beautiful. Yeah, like I agree. I
Mhm.
wanted to like take screenshots. Um,
Yeah.
I was
But
watching.
another thing, like on liminal spaces, we were talking before the recording. I was mentioning backrooms. I don't know if any of our viewers know backrooms as a concept. It's a horror. It turned into kind of like a horror game concept from lore, a lot of lore.
Mm.
Just from YouTube videos. This CG guy initially uploaded. But it's just a big exploration of human psychology in liminal spaces, and a lot of that is just like creepy or even narrow, kind of uncanny spaces. One of the most famous ones is this office with bad flickering lighting. No one is in there. It never seems to end. And there's a kind of damp kind of carpet and fading yellow wallpaper all around the walls. And there's just like it's endless. And that's one of the most famous backroom levels out there. But yeah, I think having this kind of liminal spaces incorporated in a movie also adds to that sense of imminent dread or fear. Like we don't it's kind of what you feel in dreams, right? It's an uncanny feeling of emotions. Like you know it's there, but at the same time it seems to be shrouded in kind of mist. It feels real, but at the same time it feels uncanny and you're not sure what's real and what's not. And I think shots of those kind of spaces add a lot of that and, subconsciously suggests the viewers to feel that kind of emotion as well. I think it worked.
Well, maybe it's me watching it for a second time. Like when I saw like the supposed puppet master just sitting on
Mhm.
like a chair with a man bigger than him in the back and then being in the back room, like I wanted to laugh at how absurd it felt. This is supposed to be a parody of like how people work behind the scenes, or a visualization of how people in power work behind the scenes. And we know like it's never that way. It's not the powerful man wouldn't be just alone with like their bodyguard like in
Mm,
a place like that, like draped with red velvet. But I just felt like it's a funny way, a funny interpretation of people in power and how they operate. It's like someone calling and then like you're talking to someone in the two-way mirror through a two-way mirror and then not saying anything that you meant. Um, I just felt it was kind of comical. I don't know. I didn't feel the dread that you were feeling. Maybe it's because I knew what's gonna happen this time.
mm.
Yeah.
Maybe dread is too big of a word.
Mhm.
It's just like a looming feeling of something you can't explain. Just a looming feeling of something uncanny that's
For
like
sure.
kind of like you're in a limbo or like something like that.
Mm.
Psychological limbo. Is a liminal space?
I think otherwise I might feel the same. But I feel like the dread isn't the liminal space, it's you getting out of it and then not knowing where it leads. Kind of like them getting like the two strange men getting out of the diner and just the walk was like I knew the first time I watched it, I was so scared, but this time watching, I forgot what was behind the wall. Kind of like
Uh-huh.
in the box, like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
three is you getting out of the liminal space and then not knowing what the hell's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I know.
so
I
they like
understand.
transition into like first POV like camera and you see them going down the stairs like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get a jump scare from
Actually, no. But the suspense was built very, very well.
you didn't
Um,
jump in your seat?
I actually didn't. I think I was distracted for a brief second and I missed the most crucial part of the jump scare. But it wasn't all that scary to me. There it was a lot of suspense and I did feel scared. The fear building up inside of me. Um,
What about
but
the grandparents chasing
the
Diane?
grandparents, the grandparents in the first scene absolutely creeped me out.
Them
They were
laughing
just like
and
like
like the second the grandma was hitting the granddad on the knee, I thought she was gonna like propose some sort of devious plot, but then but like
No, I thought like the first time I saw them walking out of the airport, I was like, right now I don't know what this movie is about, but it looks like a commercial for like hospice. Like I don't know
Like
what's going
retirement houses. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
on.
But the
But
grandparents chasing like Diane is one of the most horrifying shit I've ever seen. Like
really?
I don't watch horror movies. But
Uh-huh.
and I'm very ticklish and their hands are like this. I think
Oh,
that's my main fear.
that's the fear you get from the scene being tickled.
Because they were like doing this.
Oh,
It just felt
yeah.
pretty sentient too, because they were like crowding you. They were like doing this
Yeah.
and the hand mo
Forcing you into your deathbed. Yeah, driving you into a corner and into your deathbed, literally. But I don't know, like I don't know how to comprehend that scene, but it feels like
that
um
scene to me is what the substance should have done. Like the
but
substance.
what do the old people represent? Like they jumped out of the box, right? So the blue box to Diane is kind of like a Pandora's box. She opened it herself with the blue key and everything. It's melancholy, it's her fear, it's her guilt, it's her buying someone else's life. It's all of her sins. So I guess it's a Pandora's box for her. That's my interpretation. And then at the end, the deal is done with the devil and the box is open. And out runs two old people chasing you. I don't tickling you. I don't get it.
I feel like that's the horror that like films like the suspense, the sus films like this substance,
Substance.
substance. What's trying to convey? Because for the person for Sue, wait, Sue is the younger person.
Yeah, Sue's the younger person.
Forgot the fuck.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah, her fear, wouldn't it just be a two older person chasing her, reminding her of,
A little bit too literal, don't you think?
you know what I mean? Like age being like imminent, not gonna age or aging being imminent. Yeah, it would be a literal way of conveying horror, right? For her.
That's true. But I wouldn't see that being scary though. Like it
Well,
would be too, I think it's the grotesqueness and the sheer rawness of the substance that really makes it scary. But there's something deeper though in this film, like in Mulholland's Drive for
it's
casting
definitely
these.
deeper. It's definitely deeper. I definitely
But
enjoyed this film way better than the substance for sure.
I
Like,
don't understand it though. I don't have an explanation for it, and it's
like
bugging me.
if you were saying that, or like if you were quoting the expert saying that Diane was molested as a kid, would it be, you know, people older than her? And then in this case,
Yeah,
dramatizing the older people and
but they're
dramatizing.
too old. Aren't they a bit too old
That's what I'm saying,
though?
like dramatizing the age. Like,
Yeah.
of like
Um,
Bob and Betty's rehearsal. The one of the first things I noticed was Bob's freaking wrinkles. Like he was so orange.
no, that's not Bob. Bob was the guy in the green
Oh,
shirt.
sorry, it's the
The
co-star.
no, yeah, the co-star. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I was referring to him as Bob in one of the earlier conversations. But like one of the first things I noticed, he was so orange.
Wrinkled.
Yeah, he was so
Yeah, it made me think of Trump.
no, same. But the wrinkles, because Trump didn't have wrinkles like those. He's paid his plastic surgeons, I'm sure. But the guy, the wrinkles were just, the depth
This
of like
world.
valleys. Like
Yeah.
I'm being cruel, but it's true. Like that's one of the first things I perceive, and that's one of the first cues of this man being not age appropriate for him and this young person to have an affair.
Yeah.
So like for me, that scene, like the wrinkles were like a cue of like, or like a way of dramatizing his age, of exaggerating how old he is. Because
Hmm.
the hair and the features, you don't know how much older he is and how
That's
much
true.
inappropriate he is. But the old people, would you say the tickling is one way of conveying assault.
Maybe. For me, I think the old people also signifies like the beginning and an end. So the dream starts with the old people, but the dream also ends with the old people. Um, and the old people at the end they run out of the box. So it's kind of something that's I don't know. But another mildly old person, Aunt Ruth, a lot of people say that she actually saw um Rita, so many names, Rita running into her place in the morning when she was away. Why would we have that scene? Why we have that scene where we explicitly see Aunt Ruth seeing Rita? Sorry, there were too many pauses. Too many names.
I don't know, honestly. Maybe in Diane's fantasy, like her aunt is just a super fucking nice person who gives
Maybe.
everything she needs and doesn't come in between her career and herself and allows shit to happen. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Like it's beyond me, honestly. I didn't think too much about that. I was just like, okay, like you have your shit to do. You're off to Canada shooting something. Yeah.
You know what Rex said?
Mhm.
Rex was like, when Betty was introducing herself, she was like, I'm from Ontario, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
And
what
then Rex,
did you mean, Diane?
oh, Diane, sorry. And then Rex was like, oh, so that's why she's so nice. Stereotypical portrayal of Canadian people. Another funny thing is, when we were watching it, we saw Aunt Ruth like looking back and seeing Rita. And then we were scared because there was suspense in that scene and we were afraid that Rita would get caught. So when we saw Aunt Ruth looking back and then looking away and just going off like nothing happened, because at that point we didn't know it was a dream, right? So we thought everything was real. We were like, phew, she got in. And she did it, so Aunt Ruth didn't see her. And then later when I was reading analyses, okay, it's a specific scene where it shows that Aunt Ruth did see her. Completely got that wrong. But
I also thought, oh shit, wait, she came back to grab something. What was it? And Ruth. I forget.
I forgot. Yeah.
Is it a
She
key?
did come
Oh,
back.
it's a ring of keys.
Key.
Is
Yeah, it's
the
a ring.
key on top?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
can't
think
remember.
so because I would have remembered the color. But I'll go back and check because that's relevant to Diane's reality. A part of her
I
going
believe
back, grabbing the key because she regretted doing it, maybe? Or
maybe
I don't know. Yeah. Do you
the deeper you dive, the more things there are. Like every scene is a thing.